Today we're going to read a story called Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. He made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. He didn't seem to be getting anywhere on this long, straight path, so he left the path for a shortcut across a field, and the moon went with him. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. Suddenly he realized what was happening. But by then Harold was over his head in ocean. He came up thinking fast, and in no time he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. After he sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry, so he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. There was nothing but pie. But there were all 9 kinds of pies that Harold liked best. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew the higher up he went, the further he could see. So he decided to make a hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. But as he looked down over the other side, he slipped. And there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon, and he made a balloon, and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window ought to be. He made some more windows, and he made a big building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. He decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway. But Harold thanked him, and he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. And then suddenly Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed. He got in it and drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped to the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. What a great story. I loved how Harold was able to take a line for a walk and make up so many different things in his story. One of the things that I liked in the story was his 9 pies that he made. Pie is my most favorite thing to bake, and I bake all sorts of different pies. I do coconut cream, chocolate cream, apple, pumpkin, all sorts of pies. Well, we're going to show you how to draw a pie today. First thing we're going to do is do a wavy line in the middle of our paper. So find the center and get your middle going. Oh, by the way, you need paper, markers, and some coloring supplies. Easy supplies today. All right, now that I'm ready, I got to get my wavy line going. Gonna take my time. Like that. Now I'm going to do a wavy line right above the wavy line I drew. This is like a parallel line. They're never going to meet. Then I would like you to close. This is going to be the bumpy part of our crust, the outside, the fluting. Now I'll take and draw a little bit of a diagonal line down from this side. I'll go to the other side, draw a little bit of a diagonal line down. This is going to be the pie pan. Go ahead and close it up. And now we'll put the top of the pie on. Some pies have that top crust, don't they? Those apple pies. And you know, when I make my apple pie, I have to put little vents so the steam can come out of my pie. So that's one kind of pie. Now I'll show you how to make a little bit of a trickier pie. This kind of pie is going to be a pie plate with the piece of pie taken out. So we are going to do our curved line in the center. We're going to do the parallel line following that curved line. Go ahead and close up those edges to form a shape. Now I want you to find the center part and go up a little bit. We are going to do like a triangle shape like that. I want you to do a parallel line right like that. Now we'll go above the point. Maybe you want to do, sometimes I do a little bit of cutouts of the dough at the top to make it decorative. Now I want to come back down by this edge and we're going to put a little bit of the fluting on. Fluting's like the pinching that I do to hold my pie crust together. You guys are going to be pie experts by the end of this. Let's bring the top of the pie crust down. 1 and 2. So this is all the top part. Now we're going to need to get the pie plate in. So I'm going to come to the edge, a little diagonal line there, little diagonal line there, and then come across. Now, if I want to do a certain kind of pie, I can go ahead and fill it with my colors. So if I wanted this pie to be pumpkin, I could get a little bit of the orange, and I like to blend it with some brown. And then I can go ahead and color the rest of my pie crust. I like to bake it till it's a nice golden. Maybe I'll add a little bit of yellow in there. And there's a good looking pie. Okay, last pie drawing, I promise. What if we've done 2 full pies, but what if we wanted to draw just a slice of pie? If you want to do that, we are going to start out with 2 diagonal lines in the center of our paper. This is going to be kind of like a V on its side. So I'm going to come down with 1 line and then the other 2 diagonal lines. Now this point, I'm going to draw a straight line down. And this end here, I'll draw a straight line down. This is going to be the inside of our pie. Going to close this up by doing a parallel line. Parallel lines, 2 lines that go together and they never meet. Come across like that. Now I'm going to have to close this up. You want to put your pie crust fluting on the end, go for it. You can even run some down the side here. And across the bottom. Now think about what you would want to put in your pie. If you had a blueberry pie, you could do small circles. You had a cherry pie, maybe you do some larger circles. You can have some circles overlapping, tucking them behind the other. Okay, and then sometimes I like a little whipped cream on top of my pie, and I make it from scratch too. So maybe I want to just draw a little dollop of whipped cream. Perfect. So now I can go ahead and color that in as well.